Greetings, my friends, and welcome to another transmission from the First Church of the Presence of God. Well, here we are again. I had hoped to have this recorded yesterday, but for some reason videos are not all that easy for me. Perhaps I don't like so much being visible. Well, I am visible. Well, less visible actually. So let's keep that in mind as well. I'm here tonight with my morning thunder tea, even though it's evening. And my Morley Red. Vape aficionados will probably know what that is. It's the lightest milligrams of tobacco. I've come down from the greatest, and gradually letting a lot of things go. I don't do that much of anything anymore except pray, and I seek God with my whole heart and really wish that God would become overpowering, and is already anyway, but even more so, the overpowering influence in my life. It is all I seek. I got lost a few times, and well, I don't quite know what happened, but I got some idea now. Anyway, there was something I wanted to bring to your attention about karma and the world beyond. It's something that has come to my attention that I had not been aware of before, and I've covered a lot of ground in this area, but I didn't see this before, and it's from Mikhail Ivanov from his book, Aquarius, Herald of the Golden Age. And I'm going to, it's not that long, it's a couple of pages, so maybe I can even get all through it. I'll interrupt to make commentary as I go along. Everyone is discussing capital punishment, the pros and cons of the death penalty. Judges, psychiatrists, sociologists appear constantly on television and radio to present their various opinions and the conclusions they have come to while the public is divided. Some believe that capital punishment serves as a deterrent to criminals. Others that the fear of death has never entered into deterring anyone at any time. And above all, that no man has the right to decide on the death of anyone. The discussions go on and on. Humans who do not know the initiatic science are obliged to solve their problems according to what their experiences in life have been. According to the ideas or prejudices current in the world at the moment, without knowing the way things are in the invisible world. But what I'm going to say to you today has never been said on television. The law, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, has never solved any problem. The proof is that crime continues to increase, not decrease. We know that, yet we go on thinking we can get rid of a criminal by killing him. No. Once he dies, he will go to the astral and lower mental worlds and go on making every effort to increase the evil in the world, as is his custom. He is able to realize his evil intention by creeping into the minds and hearts of people who are still alive on earth, influencing them to commit crimes. He has even more freedom of action after death than he had before. I always thought the lords of karma just snapped down on these people, caused them to repent, gave them opportunity to do so. And apparently there are a lot of these sociopathic and psychopathic personalities that have no desire to change. And as long as they stay within a certain area of the astral plane, they're allowed to continue to do what they do. Lovely. He is no longer restricted to his physical body and can act through many more people. If you put an evil-smelling liquid in a jar, the smell will be contained only as long as you keep the lid on. As soon as you remove it, the nauseating smell will surely fill the air. As long as a criminal is alive, the evil entities that possess him are shut up in his body. But when he dies, those entities are liberated and go where they like. His astral body is free to visit a great number of human brains and influence them with his evil ways. This surprises you? Nevertheless, it is true. It is why specialists on television have no solution to offer for the great problems of existence. Their judgment is limited to the material point of view. You have to go much higher up for an answer. You must know the structure of the universe and the structure of the human being. If a criminal is executed, he is no longer on the physical plane, to be sure, but he is alive on the subtler planes where his desire for vengeance and evil and destruction is even freer. You cannot kill anyone's desire by killing his body. Desire is not physical. It does not belong to the physical plane. People imagine they feel hunger and thirst, suffering, and the need for love on the physical plane, but these are things that belong to the astral plane. A man without his astral and etheric body can be cut to pieces. He'll feel nothing because the sensation is not physical. It is wrong to think we can solve the problem of criminals with capital punishment. It can never be solved that way. The spirit of the criminal will go right on perpetrating crimes on the other side. The fact that his body is no longer here does not prevent him from committing crimes. In the same way, when prophets and masters are put to death, nothing prevents them from continuing to spread their ideas. In fact, they become more powerful after their death, a fact that has never been explained. I heard once somewhere, I forget where it was, that when a saint is killed or martyred, from every drop of blood, a warrior is born to avenge the outrage. And we've seen many great and noble beings, promoted is what I call it, but put to death here on this plane, whose influence grew profoundly after that. At the moment, there is a little light being shed on this subject by one or two of the world's leaders. If they want to make someone disappear, someone with power who is in the way, they now wonder a little more about the consequences. Careful, if he is assassinated, he will become a martyr. His partisans or disciples will be filled with righteous indignation and zeal and work all the harder to carry out his ideas. That is true. But what most people do not know is that the spirit of a dead prophet or martyr goes on developing on the other side. He remains as committed to his ideals and conviction, as eager to enlighten humans and make them evolve in the subtler worlds, and has even more opportunity to do so. As long as he was on earth, he could not encounter all the people who embraced his ideas. They were too dispersed, too scattered around the world. But when he reaches the astral plane, he is free to go and find them and ask for their help. Interesting, huh? That is why sometimes it is necessary, even better, for an initiate to die, so that his ideas can spread. Look at the tremendous growth of Christianity since the death of Jesus. On earth, a master can work, of course. He can give an example, but he is nonetheless limited to a very small number of people, those who know him and are with him. Once outside his physical body, liberated, he can visit and influence many more minds and spirits. This does not mean that he should make an effort to get killed. I'm merely explaining what happens, how it is in the invisible world. We should therefore not be in favor of capital punishment to deal with criminals because of the inevitable consequences in the invisible world. It is our human obligation to organize life in society in such a way that there are no more criminals and no more crime. As long as society is not based on spiritual truths, it is like a swamp. When swamps breed mosquitoes, that is criminals. There is no use even talking about justice. Well, I'll just read the last chapter because I think you've got the gist of it already. There are two forms of injustice and one form of justice. Or let us say that injustice can be good or bad, whereas justice is neither good or bad. It's simply just. And I preach injustice, for love is injustice. What do I mean? When someone slaps you and you give them 2 slaps, you're being unjust, even cruel. You should be contented with just the one. Someone else slaps you and you retaliate with a loving caress, a good word, a gift. That also is injustice, the injustice of love. Love is entirely unjust to give, to help, to love someone when he does not deserve. It is unjust. But it is the way to be. We must all be unjust in this matter. Of course, it is also good to be just. If the whole world were just, there might not be much love, but there would be less war and crime. This guy's logic is really interesting. Okay. So, it was Buddha, I think, who once said, only pursue an offender to show him the way. God, I love that tea. Thank you, Lord. You are so good to me in so many ways. You've given me such easy tastes, and they're so inexpensive to fill them. And many times the things I enjoy, Lord, just involve work. And I've got all the time in the world before it. I wrote a post today, and Bruce Springsteen was one of the featured examples in the post. And I was a huge fan of Bruce Springsteen's. The early Bruce Springsteen, the first 3 or 4 albums, just like with Tom Waits. I was a huge fan. But then he got into and I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And he also got kind of devilish and otherwise. And you see, when great works are channeled, and that's the word, channeled through someone, it's coming from somewhere. Well, that's obvious. And so long as it keeps coming, you've got the great works. But let's say you step out of line with what's inspiring you, the quality of your work diminishes. It turns to garbage in some cases, where you get your one-hit wonders and people who are brilliant for a while, and then the degeneracy of their behavior takes it all away. Yeah, that's the case. And to me, to be able to create at a very high level is of paramount importance. And I hope that some who experience my work feel that I do, in fact, do this. If not, I shall try harder. But I feel that I have a great relationship with heaven, and that is because I seek, in as much as it is possible for me to do the will of heaven. I don't always know what that is, but am I open to learning? Yes. And I think that is something all of us, should pay more attention to, especially in this time being what it is. Anyway, Bruce Springsteen, huge star and a great entertainer. I mean, the man, he was unique in a lot of ways, but he was also full of himself, or at least he got to be that way. Well, it didn't seem like that at first. I was so caught up in the actual creation and the E Street Band and everything that you didn't get that hit from him. But now with the plastic surgery and the earrings and everything else, it's hard for me to like him. And now he says he's going to leave the country if Trump gets reelected. Anytime I hear a celebrity say that, I know immediately they're not paying attention to what's really going on, because they're supporting the alternative. They have no idea what's going on there. Now, I do, and some of you do as well. Now, it's not for me to judge the righteousness or lack of it in any particular individual, but it is up to me to make decisions about who I follow, who I listen to, and what I accept as being real. Now, a lot of the time, I don't know what that is, but you know what I do? I go by the words of the masters. There's an S on that. For Jesus Christ was not alone. He was one of the great ones. Of this, there is no question. But there were others as well. I forget who it was that said it. I think it was Swami Vivekananda. He said that Buddha said he would be back in 500 years. 500 years afterwards, Christ appeared. Now, I don't know, but do the math. So, my dear friends, we are at a time right now of profound transformation, and the possibilities are enormous. Will any of us avail ourselves of what's available to us? Well, we can't see it, and it requires a great deal of faith. You've got to have faith. And just everybody pretty much has some degree of faith, but it is what they put their faith in, what they think is going to provide them with the resources and the security and all the various things that are basic intrinsic drives in the human being, including the desire to mate, the desire to have a family, and the rest of that. And in fact, families are the basic building block of the civilization and society. And that's why the Satanists are so focused right now on destroying the family unit. And how they do that is to kill the love between us and to create certain restrictions. They're trying to put in zoning now. This is the other side, the Biden and the rest of these people who have gotten under this big tent. They want to outlaw certain forms of zoning so there's no longer private individual housing because it's racist. Now, the question of racism, it doesn't make me cry. It doesn't make me scream for injustice. It doesn't do any of those things to me because I see everything in terms of reincarnation and karma. So I don't know what color any of these people were the last time they were here. Yeah, right. I don't know what sex they were. I don't know what their political affiliations were, what language they spoke, any of that. Here's a really interesting point. I want to segue here, a little digression. Hopefully I remember what I was talking about when I come back to it. I was speaking with the angel that communicates with me, and I said, I have a problem with the communications I get because it often sounds like my own mind. Like maybe it's just my mind talking to me. No, that's how crazy people are. And there are some who think, oh, that's the case with me, but they're quite wrong. Anyway, he said, I have no choice but to use your mind, visible, because the way we speak is in another language. It's the angelic language, and it translates into every language to whomever we're speaking through the mind of the individual we speak to. In other words, it passes into the subconscious, where it is translated according to the individual hearing it, and then it comes up in the language of the person. He says, so yes, when you get that sensation sometime that it's your own mind talking to you, it is, but it's not in terms of the source of the information you're getting, your mind. And visible, you know this. A lot of the things that you hear you couldn't come up with. And in some cases, they represent forms of understanding and behavior from the higher mind that, let's face it, you have not arrived at yet because you are corrected in your decision. Am I correct? Yes, Lord. Thank you. And so that was really something profound for me to experience. Anyway, we're talking about justice in the world and what paths people follow and what they believe in. And I was talking about how anytime I get confused or I don't know which way to go, I rely on the teachings of the masters. I refer to what they say concerning, and I can find it for any situation that may present itself. But this requires a certain degree of humility and of surrendering your personal will. Because, I want it this way. And the whole world is filled with that. People who want it this way. And they're like this enormous mishmash of personalities dragging huge cudgels and clubs around with them they can hardly lift. And they're swinging them around wildly against one another, and nobody wins. And it's just a confusion of all these wills seeking a specific outcome that applies to what they personally want. And therein lies madness and chaos and everything else, because they will not surrender their personal will, their understanding to something higher. And of course, that also means that they won't have something higher or someone higher come into them, speak to and through them, you see. And no, to me, that is a consummation devoutly to be wished. But people only understand what they understand at the level they're operating at. And why are they at the level they're operating at? Because of the quality of their desires and their appetites. Whatever it is that they want puts them on a level with everyone else that wants some variation of the same thing. And that's where all the competition for the thing comes from, because there's only so much of certain things to go around, you see. And that's how the rich wind up with all the wealth and why the poor wind up with next to nothing. And there's justice in all this if you can see it, but many people don't. So now I've gone the long way around to get back to this racism thing and all this stuff that these politically correct social, these, they're a form of Nazi, a form of communist. These people who insist, on righting the scales of justice and creating parity for everyone. Everyone does not have the same level of intelligence. Everyone does not have the same amount of talent. Everyone does not deserve, more than a certain allotment. You can't equalize all of that. It don't work. If you took all the money in the world and you parceled it out so that everybody had an equal amount, in 60 days it would all be back in the same hands it's in now. Yeah. How does that work? I don't know, some kind of esoteric math, I guess. Piquant. I put a lot of lemon in my tea, so taking a short pause, reflecting for a moment upon the infinite complexity of existence. Well, it's not complicated, all right? It's complicated. You make it that way when you are calculating and trying to justify something that you're after. If you just let all that garbage go, and if you'll do this simple little discipline, and I give it to you again, I haven't brought it up in a while, so why don't I bring it up again? This is what my master on the beach used to do. Every time a thought comes into your head, kick it out. Because our heads are filled with all these antiques and furniture from God knows where, some of it's tattered and torn. Our heads are like an attic jammed full of crap. We don't know half of what's up there, or basement if you prefer. In order to come into communication with the still small voice, in order to be able to hear the speech of angels, you have to empty yourself out. Every time any thought comes in, and all the thoughts that are already there, and all the stuff that you made part of you has to be rooted out, dug out, and cast out. And what happens ultimately? There's something you can't cast out. That's what remains, and that's what you're trying to get to, all right? But otherwise, you're going to be colored by these prejudices, various kinds of fears, all sorts of different things, confusions that come from other lifetimes, that come from your inability to process what's really going on in the world because of what you want, because of conflicts you engage in with others, because of your own insecurities. All of these things come back to basic realities. But just cast it all out and stop trying to figure it out, because that way lies just more complexity. And eventually it will explain itself, okay? And in Advaita, Jnana Yoga has this principle, which is called neti neti. Not this, not that. Not this, not that. Everything that comes up, that ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. And you get rid of all the things that ain't it until you get what's it. And the it is you behind the mask of the personality. But most of us, you see, we're caught up in this masquerade. Are we really happy? Cue George Benson. But anyway, it's Halloween all the time, you see. And people are running around in these masks that are a front. And they've identified with it. And subsequently, they're the devil. Yeah, that's what that is. And you have to get to the self that is behind there. That's the light that shines through the personality. Otherwise, if you're just operating on the personality, it's out for itself. Yeah, it's a selfish thing. And it's got all kinds of different ways to justify what it does. You know, it tells itself, well, yeah, I'm being really generous here, and I really want to help humanity. And well, they really let you know every time they give to charity and the rest of it. And they've had their reward, as the Lord says, through whatever the vehicle was at the time. Now, not everybody's interested in this or wants to hear what I have to say on the matter. Not everybody wants to be a member of the First Church of the Presence of God. I do, and I don't need anybody else to join. That's another part of the beauty of it. But because it's such a great thing, I'd love to share it with others. There are no dues. I'm not the big kahuna. There's none of those things. And you can join wherever you are right now and just start practicing the presence of God. And poof, you're a member in good standing. And right there, that'll all be taken care of, because if you start practicing the presence of God, eventually God will show up. Yes, God will show up. Now, I won't show up all that quickly, maybe. Depends on how intense you are. Let's go back to the guitar thing again. Practice the guitar once a week. It's going to take you a very, very long time to learn how to play the guitar. Practice the guitar an hour every day. Going to learn a lot quicker. Practice the guitar all the time. Whoa! Yeah, you see. And it's the same thing with practicing the presence of God. It's like praying without ceasing. It doesn't mean just praying endlessly. It means all kinds of different things, depending on how you apply it in the way that it best relates to you, okay? Yeah? For instance, you could just keep remembering over and over. That's praying without ceasing, if you're remembering God constantly. Because this being is in every single one of us, and it is the self behind the personality. This is why the wise all know each other, because they're all the same person. You see, they have made that contact to where the personality is no longer the supreme influence in their existence. So they have access to all kinds of incredible wonders, and I can't even get into it, and the human imagination is beggared by it. But I'm telling you, my friends, there is a reservoir of love and all the things that are contained in love that exists back here behind this mask of the personality, whose only fruit is suffering, believe me. Or find out anyway. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, yeah. So you just keep remembering this self that is behind this personality and keep identifying with it over and over and over again. Now, getting out of the personality is not the easiest thing in the world, because it's going to keep coming and reminding you about it while you're trying to remind yourself about what's behind it. Because that's the ego. That's the individual I am me cell that wants to be supreme. And what's its main vehicle for expression? The mind. Mind is the devil, basically. In the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus, he's talking about something I could say that's directly relative to what I'm saying here. He says, "Thou shalt separate the earth from the fire, suavely and with great ingenuity. Okay? Fire, or the spirit, separated from the matter, see? Or this self that is behind this mortal, transitory persona. And in many cases, this persona is a creation of karma. It is the particular vehicle, call it a car, call it what you want, that transports you through the karmic outworking of, your debt, for which reason you are presently on this plane. And your personality is designed in such a way, that it allows you to fulfill all those different things that have to do with it, or, and also all of the punishment and payment that you have to experience in terms of whatever it is, whatever wreckage you left in your passage prior to. Oh, my dear friends. See, these things that I kind of know, I don't really know any of them, okay? But they're given to me to know because I don't know. Because I'm able to say, I don't know, God knows, and that's the self behind the personality. And that self knows everything, and it is able to tell me anything I need to know at the time I need to know it. Now, isn't that a really nice facility? And the vehicle of transmission there is the intuition. God wants us to be liberated, to be free, which is the objective of all life. I don't care how you slice it or what kind of interpretation you put on it. Freedom is what you're after, liberation. And in India, they got things like Nirvana Kalpa, and enlightenment, the various terms they have for these experiences. Is what we're all after, so we hunger for. But how is it then that we wind up in bondage? Because the things we believe are going to set us free are really the things that enslave us. You have to cut all this stuff loose. That doesn't mean you're never going to eat again, never enjoy a meal. It doesn't mean any of those things about not enjoying. It means let the supreme enjoyer enjoy through you. Yeah, and then you'll get your allotted amount, but don't be wanting more. That's just going to cause trouble. It's like a fire. How much wood can you throw on a fire before the fire says, well, okay, that's enough. No dessert or anything. I've really had plenty. It's like that guy in the 7 Ages of Life, the guy who explodes after he takes the chocolate mint, Monty Python. Oh my God. So anyway, it doesn't matter how much wood you throw on a fire. And the more you throw, the hungrier it'll get. And the more rapaciously it will devour it. And that's that fire. You have to dial it down. You can't do that all at once, or it goes, we just, by increments, dial it down. As Lao Tzu says, cut back on senseless craving. And get it down to a little blue-white flame, see? And then what comes along with that? Tranquility. Peace of mind. Peace of mind. Great song by Boston. Another group I really did like. Great songwriter, that guy, Tom. What a skilled guitar player. And he was a genius too. He built speakers and did all kinds of stuff. There are a lot of interesting, unique people that come and go here on this planet. And some of the most outstanding and interesting are people you've never heard of. They're anonymous. They move about amidst all of us. They don't wear any special uniform or anything else. And they have one main power, and that is to heal. They heal. And that healing is not like, oh, okay, you got a broken leg or you're crippled or this kind of thing. That is a form of healing. But their healing deals with the whole being for those who are emotionally, sick, mentally sick. You can be sick on a whole lot of different levels, okay? And just their very presence as they move through life heals. It's like a black and white world, and they move through it and they paint it with all these colors. Who was that masked man? In this day and age, God only knows. Anyway, you see, that's who you want to be. You want to be that person filled with the bliss of existence, who does no more than share it, and who in sharing it improves the life of everyone they come into contact with. Now you tell me, what better vocation could there be than that? Now, for whatever mistakes I may have made in the past, or a lack of judgment, or a little bit too much enthusiasm, I don't do any of that anymore, and so I don't worry about any of whatever it was. This is where I am now. This is what I do, and that is never going to change again. I mean, it may improve. I may get better at it, I hope, without taking my part in the equation seriously, because I'm nothing, I am nothing except what the light makes me into. And the more that I can surrender to the influence of that light through me, the better it's going to be. And this applies to all of you. And this is why I'm talking about it, and this is why I'm saying it. Okay? Yeah? All right, my friends. I don't know how long it's been, but I think we've reached the end of this particular transmission, and I hope that it's been useful to someone. May the great Lord, the Lord of hosts, bless you incredibly. May you be transformed. May your eyes be opened, but most especially, may your heart be opened, and may you be able to contact that great reservoir of love within, that it may pour through you without respite, touching the lives of everyone that you meet. This is my prayer. This is my wish for you. All right, my friends, we shall meet again, as far as I know. Okay. God bless you.